Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Back from Texas. We had a quick trip out there, a quick trip back. Hustled back to Stark Vegas. We had the baseball scrimmage yesterday and then soccer game last night. And we covered both of those. And I tell you, you have may not be abreast of what's happening with your soccer program. But let me give you a quick update on this. Bulldogs now 9-1. When the polls come out, we expect to move up a spot or two. Currently ranked 9th in the country. Ladies take down LSU 2-0. That score is not truly indicative of the dominance that Mississippi State had last night. LSU credited with 2 shots on goal. One of those just technically classified as a shot. It was not really an attempt on goal. It was a direct kick that basically flew over everything and deflected off of an LSU wing player that rolled towards the right side of the post. So at the end of it all, State gives up one legitimate shot on goal the entire game and does not have to defend a corner kick. So LSU, 1 shot on goal, 0 corner kicks. Your Bulldog defense absolutely smothering. Macy Hodge was absolutely outstanding. I thought she was really the difference in the game defensively for Mississippi State. And everybody played a part, don't get me wrong, but I thought Macy Hodge really stood out. I asked her in postgame. I said, it seemed like early on those 50-50 balls in the air were contested. And I think she won every one of them. And in the second half, they just stopped jumping with her. They just kind of let her just do her thing. She really exerted her influence in that ball game, and I think that was a huge part of State's success. And, of course, we recently signed an NIL deal with Allie Perry with True Rest of Starkville, and she floats on Friday and then comes out on Sunday and gets a 2-piece. Yeah, pair of goals, both Mississippi State's goals. One from a set piece, really well designed with the left foot. It caroms off the left post and into the right netting, and then she comes back later and hits an absolute laser. And it's amazing to me how she constantly finds a way to get in space. And that's the biggest difference, I think, between this Mississippi State soccer team and many in the past. And I'm a fan. We do a great job playing the space. There were times over the years where it was kind of like we were just kind of playing kickball. And that's all due respect to everybody that's played and worn the maroon and white and put our kid on and gone out there and represented this university. But from a skill standpoint, we have not been maybe what we should have been. And Mississippi State now going to host what is expected to be the number 1 team in the country, Arkansas, on Friday at our pitch at 6 p.m. We're trying to set the attendance record. Got a chance to maybe push that thing around 2,000. We've never had 2,000 fans before come watch a soccer game. We've also probably never had, I'll do the research later this week, the number 1 team in the country come to our pitch. We have an incredible home field advantage. You can bring your cowbells. It's a great night for kids. It's a very, very electric atmosphere, but it's also a very relaxed atmosphere. So you can kind of go sit up on the hills or you can get out there in the West End. There's a lot you can do. So I am inviting you out on behalf of the Mississippi State soccer team this Friday night. I'm going to be there covering the game, not going to go to a high school football game. We've done a lot of those travels this year, kind of getting back to what we do well. But we're going to miss high school football in favor of this because this could prove to be the biggest win in Mississippi State regular season history. State and Arkansas currently both undefeated in SEC play. We had a game rescheduled last week against South Carolina due to the storms out there, and our hearts and prayers go out to all those impacted by those storms. But Arkansas takes care of South Carolina yesterday 2-0, and they will be here Friday. A great Arkansas team against a great Mississippi State team. If you're looking for something to do, I'm going to encourage you to come out. We got an open date on Saturday, no football this week. So maybe come out and consider supporting this great team, this great program, and these great athletes that are representing Mississippi State. And again, we're trying to set an attendance record. How cool would that be to say, hey, I was part of that. I was part of that group that the first time ever we exceeded 2,000 in attendance. Good parking, great concessions. You know, they really, really do a good job over there. And Coach Armstrong and the ladies doing a tremendous, tremendous job. It's a very, very special team. I hope you'll come out and join us this Friday night, 6 p.m. at the Mississippi State Soccer Complex on the Mississippi State campus. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of the show. I love them. I'm going to get in there this week. I've been busy here as of late. Still got to eat. Sometimes you eat out of necessity, right? You just kind of grab what's around. You know, you may go to an event, their food is catered, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But when you get a choice to make, more times than not, you're going to choose Bulldog Burger Company. And I plan to choose Bulldog Burger Company this week. Not exactly sure what I'm going to have, but it's going to have a bun around it. I can promise you that. It is. Sometimes you need to eat hearty, and you can at Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. And get a great restaurant-quality hamburger. One of the few delicacies in life we afford ourselves. I've kind of been on a smokehouse kick. I'm not sure if that's going to continue. We'll see. I'll keep you updated. But find your own favorites next time you're in town or on the way to town at Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, let's take a few minutes now. We'll go back over our ball game from Saturday. Now, before we get started, I want to make one thing abundantly clear, and I think most people agree. We can be pleased with the effort and not pleased with the result, and that's where I am. I thought we came out, we played hard. I thought Mike did a good job behind center. I loved the little run package we put in there with Chris Parson. I like the fact that we're keeping him engaged and giving him a role in this team. Both of these guys can help us. But, I'm disappointed we lost. I mean, we're 1-4. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, things are great. And I don't believe in moral victories, but I do believe this could potentially be a bit of a turning point, not just for the players themselves, but perhaps the fan base. And I think it's going to give a lot of evidence and credence that it's okay to buy into Jeff Lebby. We were ready to play Saturday. And there have been times this year, and I've said on this show, that we have not been ready to play. We were ready to play Saturday. And that's coaching. And it's buy-in from your players. On the road to take on the number 1 team in the country, what was expected to be a near-capacity crowd, ends up being about 101,000. It's still a lot of people. Nobody gave us a chance to win that game. And we went down there, and your players believed to a man that they could go and win the ball game. Jeff Lebby was very disappointed that we did not. And so, you get beat by 3 touchdowns, and you walk away feeling better about your program. That's kind of a weird situation, but that's where we are. And I think a lot of people you can see on social media and on the message boards, with rare exception, are people like, you know what, maybe this is going to be okay. Maybe not this year, but it's pretty clear that we were ready to play. We played at a high level against a team that's elite. And defensively, they are legit. And watching them play in person, you kind of get a sense of what that athleticism looks like. This Texas team may win the whole thing this year. And if they don't, you know what, hey, it's still going to be a great year. But your Bulldogs came ready to play. And again, this very interesting streak that we have here of possessing the ball first continues. It's now 5 consecutive games. Every game this year we have begun on offense. I think Jeff Lebby probably would have chosen to do that had it been his choice anyway. But Texas wins the toss and defers. We get the ball first, and we come out looking to establish the run. And with my behind enemy lines feature we did last week with our counterparts, some Horns 247, it's one of the things I asked him, how would you attack this Texas defense? And he mentioned, I'd run right at them. I would test the corners. Well, that's what we did. Came out early looking to establish the run. And again, offensive line play had to be good. At times it was, and other times we had some mistakes. But we come out 1st and 10 on our 25. We give it to Booth up the middle for 3. Back to him for 5. Brings up a 3rd and short. The crowd is electric at this point. And we get the 1. They're all excited. Hey, it's a 3 and out. But no, we decide to go. We had nothing to lose. I loved the decision to go for it here, even if we don't convert. You're kind of sending a message to your team. We are here to win the game. We're going to have to do some unorthodox things. And here we are, 4th and 1 from our 34. And we're going to go, and we run right up the middle at that front and get 8 yards. You talk about instilling confidence in your team. This is it. It's like, hey, guys, I trust you. Let's go get it done. And lo and behold, we convert. All right, 1st and 10, Booth up off left side, I guess, for nothing. Then we come back, and Van Buren runs off the right side for 7. And you kind of see he's not the quarterback Blake Shapen is, but Mike's a better athlete. Mike's a better runner. Mike's a guy, you want to be careful, but Mike's a guy, too, you could probably design some things up for. But when things break down, and you can tell he was prepared for the game, and I think a lot of that, too, is you kind of limit the reads, right? You don't want to put him in a situation where he's got to work on his third read. It's tough for young guys to understand the speed of the game. I thought Mike did a great job. 3rd and 3 now. Buren then runs off left side for 5. And now all of a sudden you start thinking, hey, this is a win right here. Even if we don't get points here, even if we don't put this ball in the end zone, we've come out with our young quarterback, our true freshman, that was getting ready for his high school homecoming dance this time last year. We've already picked up a couple first downs. We got a chance to flip the field here. This is a win. That's how it felt. All right, 1st and 10. We try to go to Craver there. PBU makes a 2nd 10. We bring in Parson. And I absolutely love that. We bring him in and immediately go with the QB1. Power off the left side, and Chris gets 10 yards. And those last 2 are just Chris. You know what I'm saying? Like Chris gets contact, and he's like, no, we're not doing that. I'm moving forward. And it's a first down. The 3rd first down of the drive. And now all of a sudden you start thinking, are we fixing to take this thing and put it in the end zone? Well, lo and behold, we have one of these unforced errors kind of pop up, and this became an issue throughout the game. And this is not just on quarterbacks. It's on the sidelines too. You got to get the play in quicker. You can't overthink it. You got to get out there and make a play. We're going to delay the game. Now it's 1st and 15. We're behind the chains, but we stick with Parson here. He's up the middle for 6. Makes it 2nd 9, which is manageable. And then Johnny Daniels, who is emerging as Mississippi State's best running back, gets 4. Now it's 3rd and 5. It's minimal, and then they blow us up here. They absolutely blow this thing up. Anthony Hill Jr. just explodes and knives through there and hits Johnny really before he gets a chance to get going. It's a 2-yard loss. 4th and 7. We could attempt a really long field goal here, but instead we're like, nah, we're going for it. And here's my objection to this. I don't disagree with the call to go for it. I do disagree with any scenario that we run the route short of the chains to a tight end. It's one thing if you hit a receiver, on a slant or a skinny post or an angle route, and you're kind of throwing it out in front, kind of throwing him into open space. But when you're basically running a crossing route, 5 yards, it's a TE out here for 5 yards. It's 4th and 7. Okay, so I don't know if that's just a lack of execution on ball. I don't know if it's a poorly designed play, but the thinking behind that was not very good. I'm just going to lay that out there. Again, I'm happy with the drive, but I think we leave some low-hanging fruit here on the table. Maybe that's a scenario too where maybe Mike didn't give a chance for the play to develop, but it seemed to just be a typical 5-yard out. I just don't think Justin Ball against that defense is going to be able to secure that catch at 5 yards and fight ahead for 2 more. That's just me. But nevertheless, I felt like, hey, we have sent a message that we are here to win the game. We are not just here to play it close. The Texas comes out like a knife through butter with their first offensive set, and I thought, well, here we go. And many of you probably felt the same way. Arch Manning complete to Matthew Golden for 22. And then on top of that, we get flagged for a face mask, and it was the right call. So 37 yards after the first play of scrimmage for the Texas offense. Now it's 1st and 10 at our 35. You talk about, we had a chance to flip the field and dictate field position. In one play, they're already at our 35. Manning then complete to Bond for 16. Now it's 1st and 10 at our 19. And then they get a little swing pass out here. And I thought we did a pretty good job defending the perimeter most of the day. And that's good film review. That's good preparation. They get it out to Gunnar Helm. It's a loss of 2 yards. Nick Mitchell on the tackle there. For the most part, we tackled well. We did have some big missed tackles, but I think our tackling was improved. 2nd and 12. It's the long pass to DeAndre Moore, and they mark him out at the 1 yard line. They go no huddle, give it to Jaden Blue, touchdown. And so not much resistance here from the Mississippi State defense, and it's 7-0. And I think, well, okay, all right, this is going to be about what we expected. That's how it felt. All right, 1st and 10 now from our 25. 6:06 to go in the quarter. We go back to Booth, who gets 3. And then we get it out to Kevin Coleman, and it's a 1 yard loss. We miss a block. That's one of those things that continues to be an issue. Sometimes it's a tight end, sometimes it's a wide receiver, but we are having trouble at times blocking on the perimeter. 3rd and 8. We're incomplete to Kevin Coleman. They credit a PBU here, but the pass was off target. 4th and 8, we punt. And this is where I'm thinking, you know what, this is where the blowout begins, right? We couldn't even slow them down that first drive. But nevertheless, Bulldogs kind of bow their backs a little bit here, down in the red zone, and get a turnover. The drive begins, Arch Manning complete to Isaiah Bond, 27 yards. I mean, they're getting chunk plays here. Now it's across midfield already just after one play. It's an incomplete, and Zachary Tillman, who had a great game for Mississippi State with a PBU there, on 2nd and 10, they get it to Bond for 17, and he's out of bounds. 1st and 10 from our 29. It's complete to Gunnar Helm for 5. And then on 2nd and 5, Jaden Blue runs off the right side for 4 yards, brings up a 3rd and short. And the Bulldogs say, here we go. Corey Ellington, the guy that missed basically the first month of the season, forces the fumble, and Zachary Tillman jumps on it. And when they showed the in-stadium replay, it was obvious that it was a fumble. Great job by the Bulldog defense. We take over now at our 21. Johnny Daniels in, again, just runs harder than everybody else. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. I don't even think that's a matter of opinion. I think it's an established fact that Johnny Daniels runs harder than anybody on the Mississippi State offense. That's just how I see it. We go back to Daniels after the first down, and it's a loss of 1. So we're behind the chains here. We burn a timeout, 2nd and 11, and it's incomplete to Seydu. And again, they credit to PBU, but the ball was a little bit off target. 3rd and 11. This time we get it to Seydu. It's basically a tip drill, right? And Seydu gets it. Good focus there. We get ahead for 14 yards to move the chains. And right here, you're thinking, hey, we're already at our 44. We've caused a turnover. We've got a chance, even if we don't convert here, we've got a chance to play a little field position. All right, 1st and 10 from the 44. We get it to Boot for 2 yards here, and then they flag us for holding. And it was a little ticky-tack. Now, within the spirit of the rule, I think it's holding, but I've seen that not called many times. But nevertheless, they call it. 1st and 20 now, back at our 34. We give it to Booth off the left side for 4, and it runs out the quarter. And, you look up, and it's like, it's 7-0. It's 7-0, but both of their offensive drives have been very, very impressive. One ends in the end zone, one ends in a turnover. And so even though it's 7-0, you think, hey, it's just kind of a matter of time. That's how it felt. The second quarter, I think the sentiment among the spectators in attendance and around the country probably changed a little bit. All right, 2nd and 16, Johnny Daniels up the middle for 8. And on 3rd and 8, it's incomplete. We take a shot here to Craver. It's ruled a drop, but he's looking back up in the sun. But you got to make that play. You do. In order to go beat Texas and win in the Southeastern Conference on the road, you got to make these plays. We didn't. All right, 4th and 8, we punt. Wasn't a great punt. Nick's been really good, and he's had a couple of shanks. This is one of them. Just 34 yards on the kick. Got a roll that helped a little bit here. Out of bounds at the Texas 20. And now based on the first quarter drives, I think the feeling was with Arch Manning would kind of take them down here, and they'd probably go up 2 scores. But that's not what happened. First and 10 from their 20. They're incomplete across the middle to Juan Davis. And on second and 10, they run off the right side. Wisner gets the carry there, and then it's flagged for holding. Now it's second and 20. And then we get to Arch Manning. Brandon Jennings on the sack there. Trevion Williams credited too. You get Manning for a 2-yard loss. And that was really a coverage sack. You go back and look at it. Great job by the Bulldogs secondary to kind of give the defensive line a chance to get there. And on third and 22, we're in cloud coverage here. We're just going to make them throw it underneath and go make a tackle, and we do after 7 yards. So it's 4th and 15, and Zachary Tillman, again, he who had a great ball game from Florence, Mississippi, it's a partially blocked punt. And it goes just 22 yards. Now, I don't know. We had somebody running in there trying to cover it, and I don't know why. Just get away from it. They can't advance it. That's a lack of understanding the nuances of football there. But again, go back to that first drive. We're here to win the game. We're not here to play it close. There was some great effort on this particular possession. And I can tell you in the stadium, it started getting a little tense. It did. Especially after that punt, because you're like, hey, well, you know, Mississippi State's in a good position here. We take over at their 37. And you feel like, hey, we got a chance here to even pull even in this ball game. We go to Booth for 5. Back to Booth off the right side for 2. Makes it 3rd and 3. You know what? We'll just come right at you. 4 yards back up the middle to move the chains. Now it's 1st and 10 at their 26. And we take a shot here. They credited a PBU to Michael Taffy. Guys, this was pass interference. Now, I understand it doesn't always get called. He did not attempt to make a play on the ball. He didn't turn and look for the ball. He's beat on the play. He's just sprinting to Coleman. There is contact. I didn't like it. I didn't like the no call. And not just because I'm a Mississippi State observer, but how many times do you see it called against us? Well, he didn't make a play on the ball. He's running with his hands up. He's face guarding the receiver. It's a penalty. Well, let's apply the rules evenly here. That was a very significant no call because even if we catch it, it's a touchdown. But if we don't, we're in the red zone. All right, 2nd and 10. We go to Booth for 1, and on 3rd and 9, they flush us a little bit. We can't get outside, and Mike is hit for a loss of 2. So 4th and 11, we bring in Kyle Ferry, who drills it home from 45, and State's on the board. Kickoff's a touchback. Nick Barmera was ridiculous in kickoffs, but it's 7-3. And again, you're approaching the midway point of the second quarter. You're thinking, okay, well, Texas will exert their dominance here, but no. Bulldog defense stands up again. The much maligned Mississippi State defense really stood up here. 1st and 10, they get it out to Wisner, who gets 12 and a first down. And then they go back to Wisner. It runs off the right side, loss of 3. DeMonte and Stone just blow this thing up. Now they're behind the chains again. 2nd and 13. Bulldog defense doing a good job down the field. So now all of a sudden you got to check it down, and they do. It's just a gain of 4. And on 3rd and 9, they take a shot across the middle. It's incomplete, and it wasn't even close. So yeah, you give up the first pass, and then after that, you kind of connect here, and all of a sudden the Bulldogs like they're believing, like, hey, we got a chance to win this thing. 4th and 9, the punt gets away. It's fair call to State 22. So now State with the football and a chance to take the lead. Put together a pretty good drive here. All right, so Van Buren's complete to Akari. It's good to see him get more involved. We need him to be more involved. We do. He's healthy, and I understand we've had a quarterback change, but we've got to find a way to keep him more involved. All right, 1st and 10. We go to Daniels, who's up the middle for 2. And then here we go, false start penalty. So we're behind the chains. 2nd and 13 here. And we get it to Kevin Coleman for 20 yards. So it's like it negates the penalty. And again, at some point, you got to take a chance here. 1st and 10 now across midfield at the 43. And we're like, hey, we're going to grind up the ground game here. We go to Daniels for 5, back to him for 3, makes it a 3rd and 2, and he breaks it for 17 yards. We're in the red zone. Now, if you listened to the Boneyard last week, you knew that Texas had not allowed a red zone touchdown on the year. It had 4 opponents had been in the red zone 4 times and netted 2 field goals. We're in the red zone. 1st and 10, Booth at the middle for a 1-yard loss. And on 2nd and 11, Booth gets 5. So it's 3rd and 6. We bring in Parson and can't get anything out of it. I thought that would have been a great opportunity for us to pass the football with Chris, right? I mean, like we already kind of setting it up, and he's the running quarterback. And at some point we'll do that. Well, that takes us down to the 2-minute timeout. We bring Ferry back out. We kick a field goal. Guys, it's 7-6 with under 2 minutes to play in the half. And here's where I thought we had a little bit of a defensive lapse. And this may be on the staff, but it's just my general observation, okay? And give Arch Manning credit for throwing a good dime here. But 1st and 10 from their 25. He's off left side for 4. And then on 2nd and 6, they again, the little swing pass out there, we get off a block. Brian Lanier blows it up for a 2-yard loss. Now it's 3rd and 8. This is a chance. We got to get off the field right here. Got to get out the field, and we don't. We had a chance. Just couldn't quite get there. They swing it out to Blue, short of the line, but he runs for the 1st down. Now it's 1st and 10 from their 37. It's complete to Isaiah Bond for 13 out to midfield. Now you start thinking, okay, guys, we got, at worst case, we got to hold them to a field goal attempt. They go back to Gunnar Helm for 4 yards. 2nd and 6 then. It's incomplete. It brings up a big 3rd down. Big 3rd down. It appears they've converted. However, there was holding on the play. And I give the Ken Williamson's crew a lot of credit. They called the holding on the perimeter very consistently. It's 3rd and 9 here. Big play. The ball's at the 49-yard line. If they don't convert here, they're going to have to punt. Because they're not going to give us the ball back at midfield. They end up going empty here. Now, we had our safeties kind of hugged down a little closer to the line. And you got to feel like this is scenario-type football, right? It's 3rd and 9 from midfield. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to take a shot. And so I really thought here we were in the wrong coverage. You see him go empty. You know it's not a running play. And if it is, it's quarterback run. And then give Arch Manning a lot of credit. He throws an absolute strike to DeAndre Moore outside the numbers, and it's a touchdown. And, you know, we bring the house here, so it's not like we're just kind of sit back and just kind of play and read and react. We bring Stone Blanton, and Stone nearly gets there. And you got to think, too, you know, even if that scenario is, hey, we're going to take a shot here, maybe you force an errant pass, he throws it out of bounds, maybe he's short with it, maybe he's long with it. So I like the fact that we tried to dictate terms, and you get a tip of the cap to Arch Manning, right? With a man in his face, he throws an absolute strike. I just thought our coverage here, we should have had a safety back. And, of course, it's tough for a safety to get over on a ball thrown that well outside the numbers. But I just thought we kind of left our guy on an island there. But, again, give credit where credit's due. The extra point's good. It's now 14-6. State comes in, and Van Buren is sacked. I really thought we were making – let's just get in the half, right? That's kind of how I felt. It'd be one thing if we had a return, you know, out beyond the 35 or something, and then, you know, a couple plays could get you in field goal range. But we took a sack, and then we run Daniels at the middle for 10, and that runs out the clock. So it's 14-6 at the break out in Austin, Texas. All right, let's jump into the second half here. And again, it's – hey, Bulldog fans. Are you fantasy enthusiasts? A lot of people are. I remember those days when we used to do it all by hand and have to wait to the next day to read the box scores to find out who won. Well, Prize Picks does all that work for you. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. That's right. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and just watch your winnings roll in. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Just 4, right? And Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as just 15 minutes. How cool is that? You can have fun. It's a very simple way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code BONEYARD, and you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's promo code BONEYARD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you just play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your own game. How cool is that? Be sure to use the promo code BONEYARD when you download the Prize Picks app. It's a game, and it's interesting, too. Tens of thousands of people left, and I saw people complaining about the heat, and I'm like, come on. It is what it is. But I was on the elevator going back up, and there's a Texas fan on there, had this long face. I said, what do you think? He goes, I cannot believe these people are leaving in a one-score game. We're going to need the crowd in the second half. Turns out they didn't, but we earned a measure of respect there, at least a modicum. Let's use that word, right? And I'm thinking here, man, if we could get a stop here, we can really make this thing interesting. Because you know as well as I do, Texas, we'll talk about them later. Texas coming out for the kill shot on this first drive and trying to get some separation in this game. The very first play of the half, Jaden Blue gets loose for 21 yards, and Stone Blanton forces and recovers the fumble. We're up there in the booth immediately seeing the replay, and it was obvious. They'd marked him down, but it was apparent the ball was out. It was a very easy review. Mississippi State gets the ball at the Texas 44, and you're thinking, hey, let's go make history here. Well, give Texas a lot of credit. It didn't take them long to get the ball back. We're complete to Kevin Coleman for 8 yards, makes it 2nd and 2. Booth up the middle for 3. It's 1st and 10 now at their 35. And you think at the very least we ought to get a field goal out of this. But instead, no. It's a strip fumble. Vernon Broughton doing the honors there. And then he recovers the fumble. And at that point, it really felt like, okay, well, this will probably go the way that they expect it to go. And, they allowed us to kind of stay in a little bit. I thought they got a little bit greedy here. It's like, okay, you survived the fumble. You get the ball back. Everybody's kind of at ease now. Go put some points up, and maybe you can kind of cruise to an easy victory in the second half. But instead, they get it out to Matthew Golden for 9. On 2nd and 1, there's another sack of Arch Manning. Blanton and Zachary Tillman. We're in great shape, right? Well, in the middle of all that, Kyle McClendon inadvertently gets a face mask. And so that gives them a first down. Now it's 1st and 10 at the Mississippi State 33. Wisner runs for 4. They end up calling timeout here. 2nd and 6. They go back to Wisner for 3. It's 3rd and 3. And then it's a false start on the tight end, Gunnar Helm. Now it's 3rd and 8. Good job here of down-the-field coverage. Forces a check down. State rallies to the point, makes a tackle. And in the middle of all this, they're flagged for holding. Now it's 3rd and 17. Back to the State 40, and you start thinking, okay, well, now we're out of field goal range. Well, they make a completed pass to Gunnar Helm, who gets 9 and makes it now a reasonable field goal attempt. Well, they make it. It bounces off of the upright and through. And it's offsides on us, Stone Blanton. So it's 4th and 3. They take the points off the board and say we're going to go for it. And what do you know? Good coverage down the field by the Bulldogs secondary, and you force a pass towards the boundary. It's wide and incomplete, and State turns them away. And now that feeling comes back. Hey, are we going to do this? We got a chance to make something happen here. Put together a decent drive here. We get Craver involved in the run game. He goes for 10, out to the State 36. Parson up the middle for 4. We go back to Daniels for 5, makes it 3rd and 1, and then again Johnny Daniels moves the pile here. It's 1st and 10. Now at 47, you can think, hey, a couple positive gains here. We're in plus territory. Back to Daniels for 2 on 2nd and 8. We swing it out to Coleman. who gets 9 yards. Now it's 1st and 10 at their 42. 2nd and 8. Craver runs for 11. We're in great shape, and this is one of those things we got to root this out of the program. Very significant turn of events here. McHale Pounders is called for a legal block in the back. It was obvious out in the middle of everything. Everybody saw it, and it was completely unnecessary because Craver was going to have an opportunity. You just got to get in the way there. I mean, you can't block in the back there. Just kills a drive. Now makes it 2nd and 18. We're incomplete. And on 3rd and 18, Van Buren is sacked for a loss of 9. So we have to punt. So a promising drive that gets into Texas territory is basically stymied because of this block in the back. And then it all kind of fell apart from there. So 4th and 27, we have to punt. Texas takes over at their 25. It's complete to Silas Bolden for 3. On 2nd and 7, big play here. They get it out to Cook, and he makes a man miss and then gets loose. 31 yards on the play. Ellington with a tackle. 1st and 10, it's a false start. They're behind the chains at 1st and 15. But they kind of get that back and then some. Wisner up the middle for 10. Brown Lanier on the stop. 2nd and 5 now manageable. Wisner goes for 4, which makes it a 3rd and 1. We end up taking a timeout here. Really, really close play. The spot mattered here, but I think he did get it. I don't think there was a lot of ambiguity about that. Up the middle for 2 yards. 1st and 10. False start. Makes it 1st and 15. It's like Texas trying to let us hang around. We just couldn't take advantage. Manning gets flushed and runs ahead for 8. Makes it 2nd and 7. And then Manning off the right side. I thought he got in initially. What a great effort, too. I mean, again, tip of the cap. Really, really nice play here. Brown Lanier down there in the middle of the action. They end up calling him short. They do the replay in the booth. It was obvious that he was short. The knee is down. The ball has not been extended to the pylon. So now it's 1st and goal. They give it to Wisner, and we stack it out. They review it again. He was down. 2nd and 1. Quarterback sneak. They get nothing. Bulldogs still fighting. And then finally, their 3rd attempt from the 1-yard line, they get in. And you got to feel like if they didn't there, they probably would have gone for it on 4th down. Now it's 21-6, 2-score game as it runs out the quarter. Now we kind of feel like, hey, this is getting away from us. And it did. Put together a decent drive here. Van Buren comes out. We take a shot down to Jordan Mosley, and it's a drop. 2nd and 10. Daniels off the left side for 8. 3rd and 2. Back to Daniels, and he moves the chains again. Hard running on the interior there. And on 1st and 10, we get sacked for a loss of 7. So, again, we're behind the chains. 2nd and 17. Incomplete to Kevin Coleman. And then we get back-to-back delay game penalties. And this is inexcusable. This is absolutely inexcusable. Is there really that much variance between a 3rd and 17 play call and a 3rd and 22? I mean, honestly. The answer to that question is no. We have got to do a better job getting the play out there. And again, maybe there needs to be more of a sense of urgency with Van Buren, but this is a failure on everybody involved in this process. We can't excuse this. That absolutely cannot happen. 3rd and 27, and Van Buren off the left side for 7 yards. 4th and 20, Nick Barmero with a 60-yard punt. Gets touchdown there at the Texas 15. And it's closing time for Texas. 1st and 10, complete to Moore for 7. 2nd and 3, they give it to Wisner. It runs off left side for 38 yards. And at this point, our defense is playing on fumes. And again, but their best defensive performance of the year. 1st and 10, now from our 40. They give it to Gibson off the right for 6. Go back to him for 6 more. Moves the chains, makes it 1st and 10. Swing it out to him for 8. And on 2nd and 2, Wisner off the right side for 20 and a touchdown. But it's called back for holding. Makes it 2nd and 12 from the state 30. It's complete for 10 yards out to Ryan Wingo. Makes it 3rd and 2. And we couldn't get off the field here. Just couldn't do it. They do complete the pass, and it's holding. And then that makes it 3rd and 9 play. And then they just take a shot down the field. And we're beat in coverage here. 27 yards for the touchdown. The extra point's good. at this point it's over, right? I mean, it's like, we just got to find a way to do something to feel good about ourselves. But Michael Van Buren and the team did not yield. I give them a lot of credit here. You could have just said it's 28-6, this thing is over, let's just try to get out of here, right? But instead, no. Van Buren throws an absolute laser to Mario Craver. 46 yards to the Texas 29. And then Booth at the middle for 7, back to Booth for 2, makes it a 3rd and 1. Back to him again, 3-yard gain, first down. 1st and 10 from the 17. We get it out to Justin Ball, short gain there of just 1. And on 2nd and 9, Booth off the left side for 4. Brings up a manageable 3rd and 5. Michael Van Buren gets loose and runs out the middle for a touchdown, 12 yards. The first red zone touchdown scored against the Texas defense the entire year. Extra point is good. And you think all of a sudden, yeah, guys, there's 6 minutes to go. If we can get it back, maybe we get a chance here. It's 28-13 with 6 to go in the ball game. And give Texas credit. They did what great teams do. They answered here. And they did it largely on the ground. But again, we're just existing out there, doing the best we can. But we just don't have the same fight we did. And that's not a criticism. That's just kind of the reality of it. Again, a team like Texas is going to weigh on you after a while. And we don't have a ton of depth on defense. And so we did we got fatigued. Wisner up the middle for 7, off the left side for 7, makes it 1st and 10 again. Back to him for 8. You see, the yardage gained on these plays, much, much greater than they were early in the game. Back to Wisner off the left side for 13. They go to him on 1st and 10. We stack him up here. Javay Gilmore comes off the edge there, saw him flash, and just absolutely explodes here. Makes it 2nd and 14. Now they get it out to Golden, and he gets 14 yards and out of bounds and moves the chains. 1st and 10. Back to Wisner for 1. We end up spinning a timeout, and I think that may have irritated them a little bit. It's like, hey, we're just trying to run the clock here. We're running the football, kind of let it run out. We call timeout here. And listen, I'm Levy. I'm just trying to find a way, right? And that's when they end up running the reverse play, which is a little Bush League. I put that in my notes, too. It's like, come on. The game's over. And I'm sure that's what they were saying, too. If the game's over, why are you guys calling timeouts? But it is what it is. It's our job to stop them. They run the reverse, touchdown, extra point's good, 35-13. And then State gets one more possession here, and Van Buren incomplete to Johnny Daniels. A little bit of check down play, had to kind of throw off his back foot there. 2nd and 10. We're complete to Coleman for 12. 1st and 10 at our 37. We get it out at Johnny Daniels for 3. On 2nd and 7, it's complete to Coleman again for 9 and a new first down. We end up calling timeout. This is not our timeout. This is the 2-minute timeout. 1st and 10. Van Buren is sacked and fumbles, but Johnny Daniels gets back on it, makes it 2nd and 15. We're incomplete to Akari. 3rd and 15. We take a shot to Mario Craver. It's incomplete. And on 4th and 15, Van Buren is sacked, and that's our last offensive play of the day. They run up the middle and then take a loss on the kneel down there, and that's your game, 35-13. But like many of you, I didn't walk away from this game feeling like I expected to. I thought we were going to go down there and get embarrassed. And then as we got a little bit closer, I got to thinking about they don't want to put Arch Manning in a lot of jeopardy. So I think they'll try to run the football. I think we have a freshman quarterback will run the football. So I thought, hey, this will probably shorten the game and in turn probably shorten the margin. And I'm the only Gene's Page picker that picked State to cover. And that was great. But I lost it later, with a couple games not going the way we expected. Got off to a great start of the day. Didn't end that way. But let's look at some numbers here. Maybe you hadn't had time to go back and look. Michael Van Buren, his first college start, goes 12 of 23 for 144 yards. 46 is too long. He was sacked 6 times. 6 times. And that's all on the offensive line. It is. I didn't see Mike holding the ball too long. And I know that we're trying to do some things to simplify his reads a little bit. The offensive line's got to do better in pass protection. We did a really good job running the football for the 2nd straight week. Maybe not as good as we did against Florida. But I didn't see a lot of this, things blown up at the line. Johnny Daniels, 15 carries for 75 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. That'll work. Booth, 18 carries for 59 yards. And both of those guys are going to have to be big for Mississippi State down the stretch. Chris Parson goes 4 for 20, Mario Craver 1 for 10, and then Michael Van Buren negative 14 because you factor in the sacks. On the receiving side of things, Kevin Coleman, 6 receptions for 57 yards. Nobody else had more than one other than Justin Ball, 2 catches for just 6 yards. Craver, of course, the big one, 1 for 46. Looking at some defensive numbers. Isaac Smith, first time this year, he did not play. He did dress and go through pregame warmups, but did not record a tackle. Stone Blanton led the way with 10. Also had a half sack, a forced fumble, a recovery, a quarterback hurry. One of the better games Stone has played in a Mississippi State uniform. Nick Mitchell with 7 tackles. And I'll be honest with you, look, Nick was a guy that I thought was going to be a career special teamer, and he's having to play now, but thought he had his best game probably in the uniform himself. Lanier with 6, Bryce Pollock with 6. You can kind of run the numbers there, but a good defensive effort. A good defensive effort against a great team. And, we were kind of outmanned in this ball game. I think we just kind of call it for what it is, It's pretty interesting when you work through all this. But I didn't walk away feeling like that, that everything was falling apart for us. And I think that's an important aspect of it. We'll enjoy the open date, and we'll get ready to go to Georgia. They announced earlier today, kickoff at 3:15. So afternoon football for Mississippi State. And for those of you that are attending the game, probably can get home at a decent hour, including your good friend and host. All right, time for today's top 10 list. As always, brought to you by closewithblair.com, CLOSE with Blair, BLAIR.com. Blair Chandler is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. You can give Blair a text or call today directly at 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. Blair has closed several loans for Boneyard listeners of all walks of life. Blair knows how to get things done. A lot of people out there covet your business. They do. The world's a world of power. Everybody out there working for their own, right? But here's the deal. Yeah, you could go with somebody else. But when you've got the professionalism of 23 years of experience behind you and the top 1% close ratio in the country, Blair Chandler is not a person who's going to waste your time. Get that pre-qualification letter as you begin to look for your new home. That is invaluable information for you and your real estate agent. Yeah, you don't want to shop above your means. Last thing you want is a bad deal. And there's always some predatory lenders out there that might be willing to give you that deal and put you in a bad situation. Deal with a mortgage professional like Blair Chandler. Made the move to Priority One Mortgage earlier this year. Doing a great job. The same level of service follows him wherever he goes. Whether you're looking for a game day condo, your first home, maybe a refi, rates are down a little bit, Deal with Blair. He can get your loan constructed in a way to give you the best chance to get approved by underwriting. He knows how they operate. He does. Closewithblair.com. Okay, I was recently challenged by a friend that didn't know much of my past. I mean, this is a relatively newer friend. You know how it goes. Sometimes people don't know the stats. They just see you today. They see, they forget where you've come from. And so you look at me, got the dreads down to my waist, tattoos, wearing the Motley Crue shirts, and you think, he's just a rocker. I'm not just a rocker. And for those of you that have known me a long time, you'll know that I spent about a year with a dance outfit out of Baton Rouge called Savello. We had a big hit song called This Jam Is Cold. And you can find it on YouTube. It's not on iTunes or Spotify. But if you want to check it out, you can. We'd love that. I don't know who makes money off that. Probably somebody who just, uploaded it. Probably nobody connected with the band. But if you want to get an idea of what we were into, there you go. And it's funny, Kevin Savello, my friend, spoke to him for the first time in forever when I wrote When the Bottom Falls, and because I wrote about the band and kind of reconnected with him and kind of got caught up on some things. But Kevin's more of an R&B type guy. So This Jam Is Cold is a little bit different than the rest of the catalog, but that's what we became known for. And I spent a lot of time in clubs, a lot of time in dance clubs. I did. It was fun. It was. It's also detrimental to my life in many ways, too. It's well documented. But I had somebody recently that asked about that. Hey, that band that you were with that cut that record with RCA, do you have a way I can listen to that online? So I sent that to them. And I think they were expecting, like Slayer or something. It's not. It's dance music. And your good friend and host was part of the show. And I had my own band after that. And, if you read When the Bottom Falls, you read about that kind of stuff. But I've been in a few bands over the years. Things didn't always work out. But here we are, If it had worked out, there would be no Boneyard. There'd have been no Flim Flam. Hugh Freeze probably the head coach at still at Ole Miss. Probably. You never know how life's going to go. But anyway, so I sent the single, This Jam Is Cold, to my friend, and they were like, hey, kind of surprised that you were into this kind of stuff. And so what I thought that I would do is I was driving back from Austin, Texas. I'm the kind of guy, like, when I get in the car, like I have a certain amount of determination with me, and I guess I've got some old school dad in me too. It's like people ask me all the time, how far could you drive? I said, well, as far as I needed to, I'm a firm believer in this, is that another cup of coffee is a whole lot cheaper than a hotel room, especially when I'm traveling by myself. If I've got people in my ear, let's stop. Well, I got to stop, right? And a lot of times I'm stopping I just want peace, so I will stop, okay, even though that I could continue to travel. I am a road warrior. And so when I got in the car after the ball game on Saturday, put it in the GPS, and I said, I think I can make it. But I could always stop, but I have to get out of the state of Texas, right? I got to at least get out of Texas. I don't know there's just something about that. Nothing against Texas. I love Texas. But it's just something about being in the next state. You feel like you've kind of got some of your journey behind you. So I left Austin, Texas, thinking I could make it. I said, well, let's see how things go. I said, in worst case scenario, I'll stop somewhere, maybe in Shreveport or Bossier City. Maybe I'll stop there. But when I got into the state of Louisiana, I kind of got a second wind. I said, well, maybe I'll stop in Monroe. And then I start thinking to myself, well, we're just across the bridge there is Vicksburg. And Vicksburg's in the state of Mississippi. And it's not that much farther from Vicksburg to Jackson. And then from Jackson home is not far at all. And I said, I would feel kind of like I let myself down if I made it all the way to Mississippi and didn't finish the drill. Not to mention I can't imagine having to explain to people that I got a hotel room in Jackson when Starkville was just up 55 there. Or 25, depending on which one where you want to go. So the last couple of hours, that last cup of coffee, I guess I got an energy drink the last time. But the Monster Rehab, they're great. But anyway, it was Club Rose Bowl on the way back. As I got to thinking, I'd listened to Keith Morrison, and I said, I'm going to jam some old school dance stuff. Because again, somebody said, I didn't know that you were about that life, but I am, and I was. So I put together a great playlist for you today. Those of you that, if you spent time at Fiestas down on the coast, or Sharkies, or Shooters, or Senior Frogs, the Ice House in Macomb, shout out to them. They had us in Savello many, many times there in Macomb. But yeah, if you frequented those places, Kathmandu's and Jackson, all the places, right? The places that we all went. We put on our jabots or our Zeke Cavaricis, and we went out there and we danced. We had a great time. I can still go, and every so often I do bring it out. Like when my nieces and nephews get married, I'll dance at their receptions, that kind of stuff. But you never know. If I ever get to MC Bulldog Bash, I'm going to come out of retirement then too, just because. I don't want to be doubted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like I have anything to prove, but I'm not going to let people disrespect me. So here is my list of old school dance/rap songs from the early 90s that are great. Great. And they'll get better as we go. All right, number 10, this was around the time that, like, when Hoopers and all those places were open and everybody was adding sound systems and music sonically was changing because the technology was changing. So you could get deeper, like you had the 808 and things like that. So you get much deeper bass, and that's where the richness of sound comes from. And so one of the bands, and one of the things, I've got these DJ type, industrial type artists ranked a little bit lower because of the fact that a lot of them, they just kind of remix other people's stuff. But there was an interesting album that came out with a group called Techmaster PEB. Very interesting. Worked in a lot of narrative type stuff. They sampled some really weird stuff, and I really dug it. And my favorite track from them is a track called Time to Jam. They played that in clubs, mainly late and after hours clubs. Like we'd go to the Odyssey in Slidell and places like that. So like after midnight, they'd start playing this kind of stuff. Number 9, and many of you know him. When he hit the scene, it was like just gangbusters, right? But it's DJ Magic Mike at number 9 with Magic Cuts a Record. Yeah. DJ Magic Mike cuts a record. Love it, man. Love it. Now, the rest of these people, with maybe 8's a bit of a exception because there was some industrial part, but they had their own lyrical content. And everybody knows it, and maybe you didn't know the name of the band, and you should have. It was great. It was great. It's freestyle. And we could have gone a lot of different directions here. We could have gone with It's Automatic. We went with Don't Stop the Rock. Right? Because freestyle's rocking, and you know we're hype. Yeah, you know it. You know it because I used a vocoder. You know, it's a different technology back then. But then it's like everybody started doing it. But they were kind of the originators, right? At least in the dance scene. There were other people that have used it, like Gap and others had used it. But there you go. Number 8, freestyle. Let's bring back the freakathons. All right, number 7, it's MC Cool Rock. And you know this song because everybody in the world has sampled this. But maybe you didn't know the originators of the phrase, and because it's so crazy. Like even looking back at this, trying to find original release dates and things like that. So many people have ripped these guys off. Absolutely ripped them off. But it's Boot the Booty, right? And you say, well, Steve, what is that? Ain't number Tutti Frutti, get on the floor if you got that booty. That's it. It's MC Cool Rock. And he had a DJ too. I forget his name. But again, you've heard that a million times. And that's one of the things that really pisses me off, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you about this. It's like there's so many of these little low-budget DJs out there throwing up music on YouTube. And they basically steal everybody else's stuff, and they remix it. And I was a DJ at one time, too. And that's in radio and at parties. I used to have 2 D9-pitchable CD players, and I could mix. I wasn't like these people that had to pre-record everything. I could do it on the fly. It was a good time. But MC Cool Rock is the one that started that. And has been so incredibly ripped off. And that was one of the things I was so determined to make sure on this list that this artist gets the proper representation because who knew that Boot the Booty would be still around 35 years later. But it is. It is. Number 6, the Gucci Crew. Now, the actual lyrical content on this is a little bit risque, shall we say. It's way risque. And the harmonizing on this was very basic. It's like they recorded this like at their house or whatever. But it was a hit. It's the Gucci Crew, Sally, that girl. Everybody knows it. Maybe you've forgotten it. But probably not good to listen to this with your kids in the car. I'm just saying. All right, number 5, one of my favorite albums from the era. Love this. Everything on it's great. Like That Boy's Good is great. B-Girls is great. I guess B-Girls was a different group, but no, it's not. No, it's not. I forget. I'm getting old. But if you like bass music that's danceable, right, and you like some danceable music that maybe's got a little bit different twist on it, Boys from the Bottom may be the band for you. And we're going to go with the classic. You guys, let me just tell you this. It wasn't just a song. It was a way of life. It's true. It was a way of life. It's Boys from the Bottoms, Boom, I Got Your Girlfriend. We've had it on the show before. And I've got probably, somewhere in the recesses of the landfills of Forest and Lamar County, there's probably some old rayon shirts with Drakkar and the deep stench of regret that could back that up. But I sent this song to a friend of mine a while back that used to hang with me. And I said, hey, remember that coolest thing? He's like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm like, when did we get so lame? Okay, and I say we, I'm referring to you. I mean, come on. This used to be our jam. And then again, this is not a song that you need to listen to with your kids in the car, unless your kids are like super cool or whatever. But anyway, this is not a song because there is some explicit content in the music itself. And if you listen to the album version, there's a lot of that. But the radio edit or the club version, it's not quite as explicit. But it is very, 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 as you can imagine, boom, I got your girlfriend. Yeah, it's you can kind of do the math there. Number 4, and again, a song that you've heard a million times and you probably didn't know who the original artist was. Well, you're going to find out again today. Because that's what we have integrity with our musical list on this show. You've heard the song Come On, Shake, Shake It. You've heard that a million times, right? And you're like, man, it's been remixed, and you think it's just, everybody sampled it. The original artist is MC Shy D. MC Shy D. And it's great. And it was great back then. It holds up today. There's some dating in some of the lyrics, There's some things that we did, that were popular back then that aren't popular today. But it's a great groove. It's a great track. You can sing to it. MC Shy D. And I want to say he put a greatest hits album, but this is the greatest hit from MC Shy D. I think it's probably the only hit. Now, number 3. This is one of those bands that did some dance stuff and did like some super bass type stuff. We used to have those Crank It Up contests down in South Mississippi. Maybe you remember. And everybody would have to do like the same songs. And you would like fine tune your system. A friend of mine, Brandon Bryant, to this day, still great system. I've got Rubies. I got the old stereo equipment I had in my silver Mustang. I've got to get that hooked up in Ruby. But my friend Brandon turned me on to this band. And then there was a song called Hit Hard, Hit Harder by them that was really good in the bass. That was his favorite. And as I got deeper into the album, I found this song that ultimately became a huge club hit. And it's Get Retarded. All due respect, this is not about the condition. It's like, hey, y'all, let's get retarded now that the party started. Like, let's get crazy, let's get wild. So please no DMs, okay? It's about having a good time. And absolutely love it. And there's some strings in this. Like, we were really big into orchestra hits back then. Huge. Like, if you didn't have an orchestra hit in your song, it didn't play in the clubs. This one's got a bunch. But I love the strings on this. Love it. And of course, everything was sequenced back then, and you'd sample different stuff, and you'd make your own voice out of it. But there are some spots in this instrumentation that I think are really, really good. Again, it's MCADE. Hey, y'all, let's get retarded. All right, number 2. Absolutely love this one. This is Young and the Restless sang B-Girls. I said Boys from the Bottom earlier. I was wrong. It's Young and the Restless did B-Girls. I started to go that route, but instead I went with a bit of a cover. Right, it's kind of a play on an old classic. It's Poison Ivy, and the bass on this is so great, and it's not overbearing. Like, it kind of fits sonically, and it's just a fun song, man. It's one of, like, music is supposed to be fun, and I think that's one of the reasons the grunge era lasted about 15 minutes, is there's only so much that you can listen to. I got a lot of thoughts about that, too. I think a lot of it, too, is because, like, in the 80s, bands like Whitesnake and Motley and Winger and bands like that, like in the videos, they portrayed a lifestyle that people felt were unattainable. And then all of a sudden, you've got guys in the grunge era walking off, just finished up a double shift at Subway, walking on stage with greasy hair and everything, and people are like, hey, that guy looks like me. I can do that. Yeah, those guys couldn't play, most of them. But nevertheless, I digress. But so Young and the Restless, Poison Ivy. It's a fun song and a very difficult and interesting time with America's youth. But number 1 for me, and this is a song, I don't know that you may know it, even as obscure as some of these tracks are. Like, you'll know them, but you didn't know who performed them. And you couldn't hear this stuff on the radio, right? You had to go buy the CDs and tapes yourself. Or you heard it in the club. It was house music. That's what it was, and we loved it. We absolutely did. And I'm just going to say I'm going to go ahead and apologize now if I danced with your girlfriend back then. I don't apologize for it. How about that? Number 1, though, I found this on my own. Like when I was a radio disc jockey program director, and I found this on my own. And I was intrigued by the guy's name was BG, the Prince of Rap. And I thought, well, this is kind of pretentious for somebody. Of course, that's kind of MC's word at the time. And I put this track on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's incredible. And I started passing this along to DJs around the South. I said, dude, you got to play this. You have to play this. And this beat is hot. Absolutely love this track. I still jam it on occasion. And of course, I kind of recap my Club Rose Bowl trip home with this track. I absolutely love it. There's about 6 variations and remixes of this song out there. There's like a whole EP with nothing but remixes of this, but the original album version is the best version without question. And so if you're looking to get your dance on today, and you always should be, this is your list. And again, there's going to be some of these artists and song titles that you don't remember, but when you put these songs on, immediately you're going to be kind of transformed back like a time machine. It's like, oh my gosh, where are my polka dot pants? Right, I got to get some new hair product. That's how it was. It was a great time. I had a blast. I had an absolute blast. And of course, that's the thing I was telling somebody just yesterday at soccer. We were talking about some of that stuff. It wasn't like the party days never got to me. Because I love to party. And there would be times, like say, I was with Savello, we'd go play a couple nights a week, and then so those other nights that we weren't doing stuff, those are the nights that got to me because I really wanted to be out there having a good time with everybody. But that's when, and I wanted to remember the nights, I did. But it was when I was at home. I had nothing going on. And I got bored and I got miserable and I got depressed and that kind of stuff. That's what got me in trouble. And other people say, well, now the access to drugs was obviously instrumental in my demise. But as far as the southeastern dance scene, and going to City Lights down in New Orleans and places like that, and I don't mean just the places off Bourbon, that stuff was really fun, especially for a guy that could dance, right? And so there's no shortage of people that want to come dance. And so you go out there and you're in a club and all of a sudden it's a girl's night and some girl comes up and says, hey, you can really dance? You mind if we dance? Yes, you can. And you become fast friends and then you don't talk anymore. That's how it works. But those were good times. And that's the thing writing When the Bottom Falls kind of gave me back is there was so much, I look back at all that, I didn't want to think about it, right? I was like, so much of 91 was such a difficult year for me. It was, nearly killed me. But I was able to put it in its proper context, right? It wasn't just the good times. The good times didn't cause me to trouble. It's the bad times. The bad times, the being alone, the depressive times, the bad relationships, And I got some friends back in the day who used to call me Baskin and Robbins because it was always a flavor of the month. And I guess there was some truth to that, but a lot of it's just because I didn't want to be tied down to anybody. And the one time that I did, it ended up driving me crazy. And so, looking back, there we go. But these are some fun songs, and again, songs that you've heard. And even today, I was at a club some time ago, seeing some friends, and I hear these old 90s dance tracks being mixed into the modern music of the day with all these DJs that rip everybody off. And I thought, that was a very timeless point in music, in dance music. It really was. Because a lot of the stuff that gets played today is just kind of recycled stuff. And so I wanted to give you the straight dope and go back to the beginning and kind of let you guys hear. So there you go. There you go. And I do have some Jabot jeans. I don't have them from my time in the early 90s. I'm not as skinny as I was back then. But I do have some Jabots. And I don't have any of the old rayon shirts, but I do have some things similar. So occasionally, we step out. I hadn't bought any Jacquard in a long time, though, but here we go. But anyway, thanks for your support of the Top 10 list. Hope you guys enjoy that. I suspect that there'll be some people that listen to this list that have forgotten about these incredible club classics that we have brought to you today on the Top 10 list. The best way to communicate your wishes and request is to hit up Royce Amonte on Twitter at Dogmatic67, DAWGMATIC 67. And you can find our great list on Spotify under the same handle. And I'm on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. Next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. I love Campus Bookmart. You should too if you don't already. If you have had the opportunity to do business with Campus Bookmart, I'm sure you're a raving fan just like I am, because when I go in there, I want to buy everything. Even if I don't have room for it, I just want to buy it and just stockpile it and just have it, right? So when I get more wall space, or I decide to kind of change things up or kind of redecorate the fan cave or the office, I've got plenty of options. If you're looking for apparel or gift items or anything related to Mississippi State, you can find it at Campus Bookmart. If you can't make it to town or see their smiling faces, you can visit them on the World Wide Web, courtesy of Al Gore's internet at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays, and that is BSR. That's Beautiful Steve Robertson. Gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. Let's take a look back at the weekend that was. Kind of a wild weekend. We thought it could be. Obviously, we've already covered the Mississippi State loss 35-13. But, man, what an incredible game between Alabama and Georgia. Did you see this? I listened to much of this on the way back. One thing I want to say, too, it took me forever to get out of that campus. I mean, forever. They say that everything is bigger in Texas. Well, I would counter everything other than the brains that figured out that post-game traffic plan. It's a joke, man. It's bad. The only thing worse is LSU. LSU's terrible. Texas is right there with them. And at least like at LSU, that they'll do that contraflow thing where all the roads leave. Like if you can ever get out of campus at LSU, you can take some surface streets and find your way to the interstate. Not in Texas, not at Austin. No, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So I got a chance. It's like it took me like 20 minutes to go like a mile. But anyway, nevertheless, this Alabama game was crazy. They get up 28-0. And then you look back in the fourth quarter, Georgia comes on strong and scores 19 and a quarter and takes the lead 34-33. It takes Alabama one play to answer. Not a great throw. Not a great route. But Ryan Williams makes an incredible adjustment. Makes a couple tacklers miss. And he's in a touchdown. And Georgia comes down, has a chance to tie it, and then throws a pick on their final possession. Alabama wins 41-34. I thought Georgia would win. Give Jalen Milroe a ton of credit. He was exceptional. Really was. Really was. And that touchdown to make it 28-0 when he tight-roped down the sidelines was a thing of beauty. Incredible. Kentucky and Ole Miss. Let's take some time and enjoy this one. I told you guys that it could be a weird game, but I thought in the end that Ole Miss's athleticism would take over in the second half and probably dominate the fourth quarter. But Kentucky did what Kentucky does. They make you play their game. When they can't determine the tone, right? If they have to get out there and chase the game, it's tough. They made Ole Miss play their game. They did a great job. Time of possession was 2-1. It's pretty crazy. And then they put together a very, very, very efficient drive to close the half. You had the catch of the tight end there. So it's 10-7 at the break. And did you think Ole Miss would only have 7 at halftime? I didn't. I thought it might be weird, but I thought they'd score a little bit. I said, if we look up and it's 19-10 or 19-13, don't be surprised. Well, they kind of get it going there in the third quarter. And, of course, the long pass to Trey Harris, who had 11 catches for 176 yards and that long touchdown. And a great throw from Jackson Dart. You know, I know that he is unpopular in this part of the country, but Jackson Dart is really good. But then in the fourth quarter, and what happens on fourth down, they throw it up, and it was OPI. I mean, I love it. I do. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it when something crazy like that happens and it goes against Ole Miss, because it's like a reminder that they're not the favored people of privilege that they make themselves out to be. It was OPI. It was. You got to put you off there. And then lo and behold, they bring in the Wildcat quarterback on that first and goal situation. And he gets hit and fumbles, and what do you know? It carries to the tight end, who just grabs it and falls into the end zone for the winning score. Again, another reminder that the football gods are always watching. And then Ole Miss, to their credit, it's 4th and 11, and Jackson Dart, kind of waggles right, trying to find a way to get downfield, lays it up there, and Priestcorn elevates and makes the catch, and you think, oh, they're gonna find a way to pull this thing out. But no. And as soon as they lined up for the field goal, I polled everybody around me. I said, is he going to make it or going to miss it? I'm the only one that said he would miss it. I'm just going to set it for the record. I just felt it. I said, this is going to be one of those Ole Miss moments. And sure enough, guys, I honestly think even at 52 years of age, I probably could have done a better job getting that field goal up and toward the uprights. That was terrible. Terrible. You don't see a lot of sideways kicks. Well, there you go. I don't know if it's the hold, the snap, or whatever, but it never had a chance. Off his foot, there was no shot, that thing going in. And so they win. Ole Miss has kind of brought back the reality. It's a game we expected them to win. It's a game they expected to win. They dropped to 12 in the polls. And there are a lot of people in the national media that have been singing their praises that are now like, hey, this Ole Miss team is not nearly as good as we thought. They played for nobodies. Well, we've said that all along. Hey, we still felt like this Ole Miss team was going to be good. And they still have a chance to be, but that's a crippling loss in many respects for Ole Miss to drop that game to Kentucky, a Kentucky team that was 2-2 and 0-2 in the SEC, and you lose, and you had them kind of come in your backyard and dictate terms, and Ole Miss, not playing a lot of games on the road yet, and eventually that kind of catches up with you. And you start looking ahead at this Ole Miss schedule, and they're not done losing, but they're not going to go into tank like some people expect. But I'll tell you this, and you can take this to the bank. That crowd at Williams-Brice Stadium in South Carolina, who is coming in off an open date, has had time to prepare, and Shane Beamer's a good football coach. They don't always have the horses. They're going to have a tremendous home field advantage. I wish this game was at night, but it's not. And this is going to be the first road SEC game. They went to Wake Forest, but let's be honest, Wake Forest is probably the weakest team in the Atlantic Coast Conference. This game against South Carolina could be interesting. And then they go to LSU. So back-to-back road trips after an emotional loss. I feel pretty confident they're going to drop one of those two. Then you host Oklahoma. You go to Arkansas, and that's been a tough place for Ole Miss to play. And then you get Georgia at home. And a lot of people are thinking, hey, that could be a game that determines the SEC championship game participants. Do you remember what Georgia did to Ole Miss last year? Yeah, I think you do. And so then you start thinking you got to go to Florida, and then it's the Egg Bowl. And the thing that I ask myself, if Ole Miss already has 2 losses, or potentially even 3, and I think that's a real possibility now, because I thought they were going to be like a 10-2 team. I thought they'd perhaps lose at LSU and lose to Georgia. Let's say they lose those 2 games, they got 3 losses, and you've got a bunch of people that are NIL recruits rather than relationship recruits. What do they do in those last couple ball games? I mean, honestly, do you care? I mean, like a lot of those guys on that roster, they don't care about Mississippi State and Ole Miss. It's a much different dynamic these days. So we'll just kind of stick a pin in that for now. But, pretty crazy loss. And we got a chance to watch it at the stadium on the video board for the most part. All right, LSU takes care of South Alabama. No surprise there. It's 35-3 at the break, and LSU just kind of coast there in the second half. Garrett Nussmeier, pretty good game for him. 26 of 39, 409 yards, a pair of touchdowns. And, we'll see what happens at LSU. I think they're a good team, not a great team. Oklahoma goes into Auburn as we expected and wins that game 27-21. And, guys, it was a game. It was incredible. It really was. And I went back and watched some of the clips this morning. It's 7-0 after 1, and then Auburn takes a 14-7 lead at halftime. Oklahoma gets a field goal and then scores 17 points in the fourth quarter. It's like you've trailed in this game up until the fourth, and then, again, the big turnover there. Peyton Thorne, I know people are all on him. The numbers are pretty good there. He made a couple big mistakes, but 21 of 32 for 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jarquez Hunter, the pride of Neshoba Central High School, 17 carries for 97. But Auburn now 2-3 and 0-2 in the league, and they really haven't even gotten into the beefy part of the schedule. They'll get Georgia this weekend. Arkansas and A&M, I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the game yet, but I have watched the clips, and pretty crazy game. Big turnover late, kind of made the difference there. But Arkansas, 14-7 after 1. It's tied at 14-0 at the break, and it boils down to the fourth quarter, and it's A&M with the plays to win. Green, another good game for Arkansas, 23 of 41. Not elite numbers, but they're probably throwing it more than they want to. 279 yards through the air and a touchdown. But the Aggies win. We expected that to happen. They didn't cover. The spread was 4.5 when we put our picks in. They win by 4. So I lose the pick, but we get the win here on the show. But again, pretty much to script, other than the Kentucky Ole Miss loss. Like that Alabama-Georgia game, we all saw that as a toss-up, right? We knew, it'd be a great game and somebody was going to win and make a big play. But everything else pretty much went as expected. Now, going into the next week, of course, it's a more limited number of games as we get more into conference play. But, state with an open date, we'll look forward to that. Remind you, Friday night, the ladies soccer team playing number 1 Arkansas right here in Starkville. You need to be there. And I saw earlier that our RPI is number 5. How about that? Missouri is at A&M. That's your morning game. The afternoon matinees, Auburn and Georgia, and Ole Miss and South Carolina. Both of those games could be amazing games. And both could go either way. And the SEC Network game, they always put like the dog of the game like against the CBS, what used to be the CBS time slot. Now it's on ABC. Alabama and Vanderbilt. Tennessee is at Arkansas. I really like this Tennessee team, and I think Ole Miss losing even opens the door wider for Josh Heupel and the Volunteers to make the playoff. And then one of the fun games of the day, Central Florida at Florida. Central Florida at Florida, and you got KJ Jefferson at quarterback for the Knights. Could be awfully interesting. And we'll preview those games later in the week. But, excited that we're in the middle of college football. And, again, encouraged by Mississippi State's fight on Saturday. And so we'll see how things go from there. Final segment of the show, the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. If you're looking for a great place to stay in the Golden Triangle, look no further than the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Now, you can stay there by yourself, just you and the bride or you and the girlfriend or you and whoever. That's certainly your option. But if you're bringing a large group of people to town, this is the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle, without any question. It's the old renovated golf course clubhouse. It's amazing. I've toured the facility. I've had some friends that have used it. I went out and ate with them. It's great. And so whether you're bringing a work group to town midweek, or maybe you got some vacation time and think, hey, I'd like to be able to go up to Starkville and enjoy some of my favorite restaurants and shops without a lot of crowds, it's a good time to come up. Maybe you haven't even considered that. And maybe you should. Or maybe it's a class reunion weekend. Maybe it's girls' weekend, a guys' weekend, a family weekend, whatever. They can accommodate you. Now just Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, and when you do, their Facebook page is going to pop up, and you can go look through the pictures of all the amenities that are available to you and your guests. You get that full-service kitchen, that great back porch area, the wet bar, the fire pit area, the very spacious living room area. And guys, it's all just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. You can do your tailgating right there. A lot more convenient, right? Or just, hey, we'll just cook, have a good time. 5 bedrooms, 2 bath. It is a wonderful place to stay. Now, when you Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, some booking options are going to pop up. Airbnb, VRBO. You can certainly go that route. Maybe you've got a credit with them. I don't know. But if you're looking to save some money, book through the Evolve website. And promo code BSR10 gets you 10% off your stay. That's right, BSR10. Get you 10% off your stay. And I love promo codes. I do. I love being able to save money. I feel like I'm getting the Ken Folks discount. And so there we go. Listen to this show. We'll save you some cash. BSR10 when you book through the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. All right, let's spend a few minutes here. The dude will be out in about 2 weeks. So tomorrow, when the calendar turns over, it's book release month. And I'm extremely excited about you guys having this book. I'm getting a lot of messages, Steve, when's the book? And it doesn't matter how many times I share it and post it. It's like people forget. They just start thinking about it. And they contact me. If you have questions, it's best to contact the website because I actually have a publisher. I don't store these books in my garage or anything like that. It's not, I just write the books and go do the book signings. That's what I do, contrary to the belief of Ole Miss Twitter. But if you hit them up and you have problems getting in contact with them, hit me up and I'll prime the pump for you a little bit. But this has been a labor of love for me. And it's been so long since I've worked on it. It's like sometimes you almost forget, right? It's like, hey, I wrote this book and I've absorbed all this knowledge. And now I'm in college football season and we're enjoying baseball scrimmages and basketball is going to be starting soon. It's here in a few weeks. You're like, oh yeah, I got a book coming out. Yeah, and this is the one, right? This is the one. And I share this with people all the time. Like, a lot of people know me from Flim Flam, and I suspect that Hugh Freeze and I will always be linked. And it's interesting, too. We had a run of books, like after he got hired at Auburn, we had a run of books that got delivered to Alabama, some around Tuscaloosa. That's always interesting, right? So I think in many respects, like if people ask me to kind of define my own legacy, this is the book I'd rather be known for. This and Dogpile. As great as Flim Flam was, and it changed my life, and it elevated my branding, I guess, in many respects. From maybe a Mississippi type thing to more of a regional thing, and we sold a ton of books through Amazon. But all that understood, I put my heart and soul in this book, and my heart is in every word of everything I've ever worked on. And but I think 7 books in, you kind of realize what the research requires to write a book of this nature. And so I spent a lot of sleepless nights combing through old newspaper accounts and yearbooks and working through interviews and things of that nature. And so I encourage you, if you haven't ordered The Dude, you should. I know a lot of people say I don't want to pre-order just because of the fact that I can just wait until it's out publicly. But if you live out of state, chances are it's not going to be in your local bookstore. And we'd love for them to carry it, but I understand. Maybe some bookstore out in Tempe, Arizona, probably not going to carry a book about Mississippi State history. But I encourage you, go to dutynoblebook.com, and you can pre-order or order, however you see it now that we're 2 weeks away. And all those copies are signed, and they'll be shipped directly to you. And so the way, and of course, as we get closer, we'll find out more. As we get closer to the 12th, they'll contact about, shipping, traffic, and things like that, and everything's going to come to the warehouse, and then we'll sit down and I'll sign all his books, and they'll package them all up and they'll mail them. So you'll start seeing, they've already started getting mailing levels printed and things like that. And sometimes that's confusing to people, but they're just trying, because of the volume of books that have been pre-ordered, they're just trying to get ahead of the game a little bit. So if you see that your label has been printed, understand the book hasn't even been delivered yet to the warehouse. And so it doesn't mean that your book's going to come directly to you before it's available to everybody else. And all of my other sports titles are there, along with When the Bottom Falls. Encourage you to kind of fill out your collection, because Stark Villains and Alpha Dogs will be gone sooner rather than later. And again, we will probably do a reprint down the road when I write the 3rd and final installment of that. That's the plan anyway. And we'll sell those as a trilogy. For those of you that are collectors, it's a super cool thing. And so we look forward to doing that. But I'm excited about this new one. And I can't wait to go back and read it myself, and I wrote it. And I've been part of the editing process the whole way through, all the way to the very end. And I can tell you that the book has been and will be nominated for some pretty prestigious awards. You never know, we might win something, right? I don't write it for those reasons, but man, it would be nice to have some acknowledgement for that sort of stuff. Because I'll be honest with you guys, it's interesting. There's a lot of my contemporaries, of course, they're like listed on some of these websites as Mississippi writers, and they've sold maybe 1/10 of the books that I have. And so I've got an ego like everybody else. I want to be recognized for my contributions to the literary community. And sometimes I think one of the reasons that people are reluctant to do that is because I am the Mississippi State guy writing the Mississippi State work. That's just, maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. There are some people that won't even carry my books. Yeah, how about that? And it's because I'm a Mississippi State guy. And that's fine too. We've sold a bunch of books without their help. They're not cutting my throat, they're cutting their own, and those of their customers. But again, if you're looking for it, you need to get it at dutynoblebook.com. And again, we had a great weekend, and phones are ringing off the hook at True Rest. Of course, I was gone, and I had to get, every time I'd call to talk to Dana on my trip home and to Austin, Texas, she could say, I got to call you back. I got floaters coming in. I got floaters coming out. I got floaters on oxygen. There's always something. And again, the special for you guys, Boneyard listeners, call 662-268-7601. And you can float Monday through Thursday, your very first float, for $45. The regular price is $89, right? Now, traditionally, the first floats we give you for $65, but being a listener to the show, we'll give you $20 off. So $45 to book and float Monday through Thursday, first-time floaters. Call Dana at 662-268-7601. She'll give you all the details, but you have to call and let her know you heard about it on the Boneyard in order to get those additional savings. And again, great weekend. It's been a great run here in the month of September. And thank you guys so much for that. And we are so pleased to be able to help you. It's like we had a group come in a couple days ago, and this lady came up and hugged my wife's neck when it was over, and she says, you are an absolute darling. And that's all those years of being a nurse, right? I mean, just taking care of people. So if you've got chronic pain or anxiety or something like that, we may be able to help you. We've helped a lot of other people, and we have some people that come regularly. We got several members of faculty, names that you may know, that come weekly. Just because of the fact it goes, man, this is amazing. I love this experience. A lot of people will say, well, it's just floating. It's not. It's not. You need to do your research. You can go to truerest.com and check it out yourself. We'll be back on Wednesday. I got to finish up here. We're going to head out to the baseball scrimmage. And no Jeff Levy-Presser today. We are supposed to get him at one day after practice this week. We've got some women's basketball stuff set up for later in the week. So it's going to be a busy week, even though it's not a football week for us. And I hope that you guys have a great week wherever you are. And again, our thoughts and prayers out to everybody dealing with these historic floods out there in the east. And there's talk about another tropical, event kind of coming right behind this one. And so there's a lot of people up there dealing with some things that are very difficult, and some good bulldogs. Not that we have to differentiate. People are people. And it's so terrible when anybody has to deal with this sort of stuff. But, for those of you out there in the sound of my voice, we're thinking of you and we're praying of you. I know that doesn't mean praying for you. I know that doesn't mean a whole lot. But we want to acknowledge the fact, too, that it's not just a day in the park. The videos from what's happened out there is just absolutely incredible. So if you can give, we encourage you to do so. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.